Welcome to Martini Time. So I'm going to be a chicken tonight. Last night, I gave a talk on racism and self-loathing, and I got the most, I put all these talks on YouTube, and I got the most I got 7 views, 3 likes. And that was big for one putting something up and having immediate views on there, at least for me. So this morning our local mayor started a Blackstone talk on Facebook Live, and I was jealous. He talked for 45 minutes and got about 1,000 views. And I cut my talk back to 10 minutes because I was convinced that people didn't have the attention span to do over 10 minutes. But anyway, so there's several things on my mind today. One of them is, let me finish one more drink here. I'm back with my cheap gin, and I talked about my father being a racist, and last night's talk as it's a personal experience with racism, my early experience with it. And here's his watch. So I'm using this as my timer tonight. I don't have on my little ding bell to tell me when 10 minutes to shut up. So I'm using my father's watch. I had this restored. This watch was given to him by his grandmother. Isn't that a beautiful watch? Has his initials in the back, which I'm a junior, so those are my initials. And it was given to him by his grandmother when he graduated from Annapolis in 1929, after having come up as a dirt poor Irish boy and gone to college and then got to Annapolis and became a naval officer. But anyway, that's the end of that talk. So what I wanted to talk about today was urban Buddhism. This has been on my mind today. And I talked about self-loathing last night. Well, self-loathing is a very strong word. It sounds pretty severe. Self-loathing, loathing, loathing. But it can be very insidious, very subtle. Self-loathing happens when you are not living out your intention, or when your intention is divided. I think that's what racism is. One way to look. There's so many ways to look at it, but one way to look at it is that intention is divided. So you are on the surface intentionally not a racist, but underneath you are intentionally a racist because of fear and because of self-loathing. So this division. So this self-loathing can't happen when your heartfelt intention is not in alignment with what I call the Dharma. Dharma is a Sanskrit word meaning teaching, but it has many layers and is very difficult to understand in Western language because it's not something that's external. It's not a law that's applied. You are Dharma. You are the life force. You are the force, you see. Not you're something that has the force. You are the force when you are in alignment with your Dharma, which is your life intention. And life's intention is unity. So when you're in alignment with unity, which is from your heart, then you're in alignment with your Dharma. And if we're a little bit off of our alignment, we suffer, says the Buddha. It's like if your car is a little out of alignment, your wheels wobble, and it drifts a little bit. Oh, I'm drifting. When you're in alignment, take your hands off the wheel, and the car keeps going straight. Out of alignment, like that, you see. So that's what being out of alignment with your Dharma is like. You're a little bit, so that is, we experience that as self-loathing. I loathe myself because I'm out of alignment with myself. I'm not following my heart's intention. And a lot of us don't know what our heart intention is. And we get a few glimpses of it, but the world pulls us off, you see. And we think we're in alignment with the world. But we're not in alignment with our heart. So the big struggle in life is to get in alignment with your heart that is also in alignment with the world. Oh. That's nirvana. When you're in alignment with your heart is in alignment with the world, you see. But we all experience the conflict of being in alignment with the world, family, duty, parents, father, jobs, self-image, ideals, religion, all these things have an alignment. But what's my alignment? Who am I, you see? And if we're not in that whatever little bit we're off a little bit or a lot, that gap is the suffering we experience as negativity, malaise, loss of energy, doubt, anger, irritation, unsettledness, not complete. There's something more to me. There's something more to me. What shall I be? This nagging feeling of there's something more to life. I'm missing it. What is it? You see, what shall I be? That what shall I be is the Dharma. That is your heart Dharma. That's the Dharma, you see. So I made the title of this talk, Urban Buddhism is Here. I've been writing about there was a YouTube little thing on Facebook. That's all I know now is what's on Facebook. But it was talking about the spirituality of yoga has been lost, and it's all just kind of like slow aerobics. And it all gets choices now, like you got your naked yoga and your dog yoga, your goat yoga, and it's like the Hurt Locker with all these yoga cereals. I can't choose any of them. You see, so the baby got thrown out with the bathwater. And I made the observation that when the Middle Ages was a mystical religion, in the sense that Catholicism had a mystical dimension to it, a monastic dimension. Thomas Merton connected up with that, but the monastic, mystical dimension of Catholicism was alive and well. But you had to become a monk and go live in a monastery. All right, so when Protestant Reformation came, it broke up the Catholic dome and made religion portable. Now you got it in the Bible and you have your own little church, you see. But it threw mysticism out with the bathwater. Protestantism is not a mystical religion. It's not there are no Protestant monasteries. There's no Protestant mysticism. It's worldly and it's institutional. It's a social religion. You go to a church and you have a church society. You have a people you belong to. But mysticism is a solitary path, not a people path, not in a church, a solitary path, you see. Alone, solitude. That's why it's always been traditionally, you have to leave the world and go live in a cave, go live in a monastery, be a yogi and wander around in the rivers and the forest, you see. Even in our history, in our Western history, the explorers were mystics. In that way, they left society and they wandered in the wilderness. But anyway, so what's happening today is that yoga has been stripped of its mystical tradition, which was Hindu. I know. I got involved in yoga as a spiritual path in 1970. And it was, although it was American yoga, the Light of Yoga Society, they were going to teach young Americans, Western, secular, materialistic Americans, how to be yoga teachers. But it was a spiritual dimension to it. There was an Indian guru, a master, you see. And we studied the Bhagavad Gita, And we had pictures of Rama and Sita and Krishna on the wall, and we studied the mythology, and there was a statue of Shiva in the garden, and you put flowers there as Shiva, so you learned to open your devotion to these gods. And Ganesh, and you chanted Sanskrit mantras, and you wore beads, and you did Sanskrit mantras, and the mysticism came from the mystical tradition of Hinduism. And the teachers wore robes and sandals and long hair and maybe Shiva marks on the forehead or a dot or something like that. In other words, there was something unique about it, and that was very attractive because we all want to be special. We want to be special spiritual people. And in order to do that, you have to dress and look like a special spiritualist. But all this has been washed away because not all of it, but I mean traditionally, if you go practice yoga, you go to the mall and there's a yoga class there, and there's no spiritual, there's no, the spirituality is kind of abstract in the sense that you don't have Indian masters and gurus on the wall and all that, you see. And you're not required to do any Hindu rituals, fire ceremonies or sacrifices or anything, you see. That's been stripped away. Just like the Protestant Reformation stripped the mysticism away from the Catholic Church. Same thing. And this is because in a materialistic, secular society, which we live in, it resists people looking different that reject the society. Like remember the Hare Krishnas, with their shaved heads and their tambourine chanting and all of that. You see. So this spiritual ego, spiritual specialness, this is the thing. The ego, which is the dynamic center of a modern person, the ego. Our center is not like the home tree or the holy mountain or something. It's the ego is our portable. It looks like the Bible is a portable God. Our ego is a portable dynamic center. But the ego doesn't like to be alone. It wants to get in a group that has a unique identity. So if we want to be spiritual, we get in a spiritual group and we take on the identity of the spiritual group. So now we feel unique and special. You see, but there is tension between the masses, you see, and these little groups of special people. Few very rarely survive this. The Mennonites and the Amish do, but they are unique in that they are able to live in separate communities, and they really are very humble people, but I don't want to get into that. But the point is that the specialness of the spiritual yogi kind of like got lost, you see, washed away. And the yoga then became more focused on good feelings, good body, good image, happiness, a product, that you could experience. You look good, you feel good, so I want to get to that. It's nothing about mysticism. It's nothing about the transcendent. It's all about being happy in a material world. So you can go to therapy or go to aerobics or go running or take yoga. It's all kind of like in the same choices of cereal, you see. But the urban Buddhists, now what's happening, what I see, and even from my little outpost here in Blackstone, is that the urban Buddhist is the practice of the Dharma. Now, if you go to Barnes & Noble and you go, I want to see a yoga book, you're going to go find, maybe in the exercise section, you find all the yoga books, and it's all going to be about exercises. But if you want to find out about meditation and mindfulness, which is mysticism, you go to the religious section, and they got the Buddha section, and there's a whole big section there on meditation and mindfulness in the Buddhist tradition. And it's very creative. Buddha at the gas pump, and all of these different creative American Buddhism that is very creative, you see. But it's all about the interior. It's not about your exterior dress and rituals and how you look and mythology and metaphysics and all of that. It's all about interior, silent practice that you do in your house or you're in business and nobody knows you're doing it. It's invisible Buddhism. You don't have to change your dress. You don't have to be special. Of course, I'm weird. I wear this, but but see what I mean? The urban Buddhist is an invisible mystic, an invisible monk, and this is what's growing because it gives us the inner practice of transcendence, of finding the sacred in my life. I want to find the sacred. I want to find the integration in my life. I want to be one with the world. I want to be one with myself. I want to end this self-loathing. I want to end this misalignment, you see. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it, you see. But I don't want to be special. I don't want to go join some group, you see, and wear beads and sandals and long hair and worship Shiva. You see it right there. But then I got Jesus over here, you see, so I'm integrated. I'm integrated. That's the point of all of this stuff here. This is integral spirituality. You see, you don't choose one over the other, you see. It's all integrated. And then I put it here so it's kind of like a museum and nobody thinks I'm worshiping anything, you see. So if you put a Buddha by itself, you say, oh, you're worshiping Buddha. But if you put him in a crowd, it's kind of like zebras. It's not threatening. So the point I'm trying to make tonight, if there is a point, is that urban Buddhism is the practice of mysticism, and nobody knows you're doing it. And primarily it's meditation, which is a formal practice where you sit for 15, 20 minutes, and it's mindfulness, which is portable meditation. You apply the meditation begins to spontaneously bloom in your everyday world and transform it in your world. So you don't really have to go anywhere, but you have to have the intention. The intention creates the mysticism. The intention creates the sacred. The intention creates the alignment. If you don't have the intention, you don't get the alignment. And so I'm speaking to you this way because I really have felt I've been a little bit out of alignment here lately. I've been, with my talks, I'm trying to be funny and amusing, and I jump around and I talk about this and that, but I've lost my intention. I've lost my heartfelt intention to bring Dharma to anyone who is interested in alignment. You see. And that is a creative intention. The intention to be creative. The intention to get in alignment with you and with the Dharma of us all, which is our own life force. See, we all have different lives. We're all unique, you see. But there's only, and the Dharma is kind of like everybody's unique path, and yet it's one path. So it's the one and it's the many, you see. And it's getting the many in alignment with the one and the one in alignment with the many. So we're all unique, but at the same time, when your intention is to be in alignment with your Dharma, your life force, and in Star Wars was about that, the Force, being in alignment with it. It's not like you have the Force, it's you are the Force. You are the Dharma, and yet you are unique, so you don't have to become something else that looks unique. You discover your own unique intention and life, you see, which is a creative endeavor, which is a spontaneous life, which is a joyous life, you see, because you're free from having to adapt to anything. From having to make yourself fit into a round peg into a square hole, you see. You create your own peg and hole. And Anyway, I hope I wanted to just share that. So I'm going to be trying to make some changes here lately, and maybe develop more of intentional talk with a specific direction, creative. And I was thinking about follow the M&Ms, a practical guide to meditation and mindfulness. Meditation and mindfulness, M&Ms, like E.T. Follow the M&Ms. So I'm really interested in developing a series of talks or a way of talking. I might do it here. I might create another one in which I have an intention to direct us towards the discovery of mindfulness and meditation in our everyday life, at work, at play, at home. You see, this is where the action is. This is where the transformation is, or transubstantiation. This is where the Mass is, the Eucharist. This is where suffering is transformed into joy, where imprisonment is transformed into liberation, where unconsciousness is transformed into consciousness. This has to be done in your everyday world. Nobody has to know you're doing it, but you have to have the intention. So that's what I want to talk about. That's where my heart lies. That's where my intention is. To awaken the intention to get in alignment with your life force. That's my intention. So thanks for dropping in. Let's see. I talked for, about 25 minutes. Thank you. I felt better doing that. I didn't have to wait. I didn't have to shut up when the bell rang.